The Void, Series 1, Episode 1, The Naled, Chapter 16. The senior officers assembled once more in the meeting room. There was a palpable sense of tension, as well as relief. Voight struggled to prop herself up in a chair, visibly exhausted, but relieved. She looked at Varma, who seemed as fresh as he had been before, and had to admit to feeling a little jealous. All she wanted to do was to fall asleep. The adrenaline was wearing off, and she could feel a tremor in her hand, clenching it into a fist in an attempt to restrain it. They were now a few systems away from Sierra and traveling towards the outbound gate. There had been no pursuit beyond Sierra itself, and for that, she was grateful. "We've been through a lot today," Schafer started, "and it's been unexpected, to say the least. You've all performed admirably, but we've also been very fortunate, as that could have gone a lot worse. Dr. Takuma, what's the latest on the casualties?"
"No fatalities. At least 40 serious injuries, though, most of them broken bones and other assorted trauma caused by the emergency maneuver."
"Fortunate, but preferable to what could have been if we'd been caught in an extended engagement," Schafer mused.
"I'm not going to dispute that, Captain. It was the right decision in my book."
"What about the damage to the Liberator?"
"Some damage to the hull armor that will need repairing. Surprisingly little given to the size of the engagement," Jared Nadiro commented. "The starboard gym has been severely damaged, but nothing essential. Good job it wasn't occupied at the time."
"We were fortunate none of those harpoons got through our defenses. Not intact, anyway," Denham Richt mentioned. "Do we know anything more about them yet?" "Too early to tell, Captain. It's going to take some extensive studying," Denham responded. "But it looks like they could be organic in nature. They could possibly be part of the bioship itself, like quills."
"Not a manufactured weapon, then?" Hannah queried.
"Probably not. Everything we've seen to do with the Naled so far seems to suggest a reliance on biology rather than technology. It's why we couldn't detect their ships at first. Technology gives off distinctive signatures, making it easier to spot, but biology is much more nebulous. You can detect it, but it's much harder to recognize it as having a particular function." "But we'll be able to spot them next time, won't we, Doctor?" Schafer sought reassurance.
"It'll take some analysis of the biosignatures, but we should be able to, yes." "There's also a lot to unpack about the Triskel Corporation's activities on Sierra Lament," Voight reminded.
"Yes, this whole fiasco was a result of the atrocities they committed there. So many years on, and we're still dealing with the legacy of that madman," Schafer sighed.
"So what do we do in regards to the Naled?" Voight expressed.
"That'll be for the Senate to decide," Schafer surmised. "Given what we've seen today, I think diplomacy is out of the question."
"They're burning with hate for us," Hannah commented. "From their point of view, they're acting out of self-defense," Voight responded. "From what we've seen, they've been the subject of horrific slaughter."
"That may be so, but they're now a threat to the Republic, and that has to be our number one priority. Over time, it may be possible to seek diplomatic options, and I hope we do. But for the time being, we have to prepare for future hostilities."
Voight concurred. She didn't like the sentiment, but agreed with the pragmatism. She couldn't help but feel some empathy for their plight, even if they did recently try to kill her.
"What about the Irians?" Denham interjected. "That is the more mysterious question, isn't it?" Schafer mused. "I can understand the censorship while Triskel was in power, but there's not been a single mention of it from them since."
"They're not exactly talkative."
"No, they're not. But not one mention in what, 30, 40 years?
We may be trying to attribute our own human motivations to the Irians here, and that can be a fruitless endeavor," Denham posited. "Their perspective is vastly different from ours, and so to try and divine their intentions is innately difficult."
Schafer thought about this carefully. "You might be right, Doctor. Maybe I'm reaching for a reason that simply isn't there."
"There's another thing we haven't considered," Voight interrupted. "The battle over Sierra Lament might not have been the only one. We know that there were more of these colonies, but we have no idea where they are or what happened there. The question is, was this punishment handed down by the Aryans repeated elsewhere?
What are you getting at?
How many ships in the Triskel fleet were destroyed by the Aryans in total? Voight proposed. How many of those ships would have been deployed against the rebellion over a decade later, and would they have swung the conflict in Triskel's favor?
Are you suggesting that Aryans influenced the outcome of the war?
It was probably an indirect consequence, something they hadn't intended, but changed the course of our history, Voight suggested. There's no way of telling, but it's food for thought.
It's an intriguing thought, Denham announced. At least we have the files from the colony. They might shed some light on the wider situation.
How long would that take, Doctor?
There's a lot of data to go through, and even then it might be only partial and fragmented. It could take years to piece the whole thing together.
Marvelous, Schafer sighed in bitter sarcasm. So many questions, not enough answers.
So what next? I've got to make a report to the Senate as soon as we finish up here, Schafer explained. I should know more about our next course of action after that.
So that's the end of that?
For now, yes, Schafer judged. Time for the higher-ups to do their thing. Not much more we can do now. Not much of a resolution, I know, but that's life. Anything else?
The room remained quiet.
Okay then, dismissed, Schafer concluded. Commander, can I have a quick word?
The others filed out, returning to their duties. What is it, Captain?
How bad was it down there?
To be honest, sir, I haven't really thought about it much yet.
I've often found that myself. You spend so much time reacting, it doesn't really sink in until after the fact.
I usually get the jitters after something like that, sir. Voight was a little cautious about being so honest with the captain, especially with the doubts he'd expressed a couple of days earlier.
Nothing unusual about that. I've had them enough myself, Schafer admitted. Don't let anyone tell you that you get used to it. You don't. We're not wired that way. We just find coping mechanisms. Personally, I try to relax by listening to music with a good whiskey.
Does it work?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't, Schafer revealed. But it works often enough for me to keep trying.
The humor helped reassure Voight. She liked the fact that Schafer was making an effort to identify with her, to help her realize she was not alone with the stress of command.
I'll send you a bottle of my own personal reserve. See if you like it.
Oh, I couldn't.
Nonsense. Give it a go. If you don't like it, I'll happily take it back.
Voight laughed. Okay then, but I don't have a good history with whiskey.
Then you've never drunk the good stuff, Schafer countered. Not that grotty, blended, mass-marketed stuff you find in the chains, but the proper aged malts. And take your time to savor it.
I normally try to shut myself away and lose myself in a good book.
Does that work for you?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, Voight echoed. Schafer started laughing. Not a great uproarious laugh, but more of a gentle chuckle. It was the first time she'd heard him laugh, and it took her aback slightly, but she quickly started smiling.
It's an onerous responsibility, Command, Schafer reasoned.
But you did well today.
The mission turned bad very quickly, but you kept your head and thought on your feet. You kept everyone alive despite the odds being against you. Whatever other thoughts you may have in the aftermath, try to hang on to that one. Those people are alive because of the actions you took.
I'll try to remember that, sir. But I can't help but brood. It's my nature.
Well, if you want to talk about anything, I'm more than happy to listen.
Thank you, sir.
Now try and get some rest. I intend to. Once I've filed my report.